Could somebody close that? Awesome, thank you. It's cold. It's already cold. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday evening loving kindness meditation. My name is Alex. It is wonderful to be here with you all. See some new faces, and that's always a good thing. Hello to all the folks online, on my regulars. Good to see you all. Brian and Linda, Jean, hello. Good to see you. Is there anyone here, this is your first time to the Dharma Bum Temple? Wow. Did a friend bring you? Nice. Always good, thank you. How about you?
Yeah.
You're with the group. Oh, nice. Awesome. Welcome to all the other new folks. You guys are new too? Awesome. Thank you. Well, welcome. Hey, John. So, when we're talking about loving kindness in Buddhism, because I know you've heard that term before, it's not new. The Buddhist term, we'll just call it a Buddhist term for now. The Buddhist term for that is metta, M-E-T-T-A. And if you know anything about the Tibetan tradition, in that tradition they call it Maitri. Same thing, different language. And metta comes from the ancient Pali language. Pali language comes from the early, I think around the 2nd, 3rd century, maybe the 1st century CE. And it's a liturgical language. When the Buddha died in about 483 BC, his teachings were handed down orally. It was an oral tradition for hundreds of years, for about 500 years, until they were finally written down on palm leaves. And the language they were written, I think, was Pali. And so this is where that word comes from, metta. And we think Pali is pretty close to what the historical Buddha actually spoke. The historical Buddha spoke something called, they said he spoke the Magadhan language, which is one of the big kingdoms of India at the time. And so we think it's pretty close to that. Do we have a host here, one of the hosts? Daryl? All right. Those lights in the back are blinking, and it's just a little.
Is there something we can do?
Oh, you could turn them off. The switch is kind of back there behind there. If you could, please. Oh no, on the other side there. Oh, thank goodness. Thank you. That's okay. Appreciate it. So yes, this word metta that we were talking about. If you heard that guy who played for the Lakers briefly, I forget what his name was before, and he changed his name to Metta World Peace. That's the same metta. When you translate that word into English, 25 or 3,000 years later, or 2,500 years later, sorry, it means a lot. The meaning of this word is a lot just for one English word or compound word, loving kindness. We think of it as loving kindness, unconditional friendliness, goodwill, and it is all those things. But you can throw like 20 or 30 other words at it; it would mean that as well. And so, loving kindness in the way that we practice it here in Buddhism is it's just a wish to be happy. It's a wish for ourselves to be happy. It's a wish for others to be happy. And also it's a wish for ourselves and others to do the things that cause happiness. And if you know anything about the Dharma Bum Temple, or if you know the motto of the Dharma Bum Temple, then you know what causes happiness. So the motto of the Dharma Bum Temple is think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. And when done with the right intention, those things bring happiness. Right? Happiness is a freedom from suffering, a freedom from harming others, because loving kindness is non-harming. And because it's non-harming, our loving kindness will never get in the way of somebody else's loving kindness, even your enemy. That's why it's, when practiced long enough, you can easily do this practice for someone who you don't like very much. In Buddhism, we're very dramatic. We just call them the enemy, right? And anybody can be the enemy, right? Even the person who just kind of annoys you a little, they can be an enemy. And so that's what we try to do. We try to eliminate our suffering. We try to be free from suffering, and loving kindness is one way to do it. Loving kindness is the first of the 4 heart practices in Buddhism, called the Brahma Viharas, or the divine abodes, or heavenly abodes. The Buddhist version of heaven is not the same as the Christian version of heaven, so I'll just say divine abodes. The first one is loving kindness. The second one is compassion, which is what happens to loving kindness when it encounters suffering. It wants that suffering to stop. The third is empathetic joy, and that's what happens to loving kindness when it encounters joy. It wants it to continue. And the fourth one, which kind of ties everything together and keeps everything in check and really adds just a whole lot of wisdom to your heart practice, and that's called equanimity, where you have loving kindness and you have compassion for all the things in the world, but you don't get overcome by it. You understand that everyone is the owner of their own karma. There's only so much you can do to help other people. So often we continually kind of overextend ourselves. And then we're just harming ourselves when we do that, right? And so equanimity helps keep everything in check. So there is something in the sutras, in the Pali Canon, called the Metta Sutra. A sutra is just a teaching. And these are the Buddha's words from 2,500 years ago, almost 2,600 years ago now, on not only how to do this practice, but how to relate to this practice and relate to your fellow man in your everyday life. And he says, "This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing, in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. And isn't that something? These words from almost 2,600 years ago are still so relevant today. And the meditation that we're about to do will help us in understanding these words from the Buddha. So, what we're going to do is we're going to spend just a couple of moments getting in touch with the breath. And then to begin our practice of loving kindness, we're going to focus on a benefactor. And a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness. Anyone other than like a romantic partner, but anyone else is fine, right? Mother, father, brother, sister, best friend, someone you saw on TV who's meant a lot to you, or anyone, right? And then we're going to, for the second part, imagine our benefactor, could be the same one, could be a different one, doing this practice for us. So we already have the experience of their love and kindness, right? That's why they're a benefactor. We're just going to imagine them doing this practice for us. And the only thing that we really have to do is just receive all of it. Again, just receive all of it. You can put your hand over your heart, just to make it easier. And then we're going to do loving kindness for ourselves, which is probably the most important thing that we can do. It's so important to have loving kindness for ourselves. And then we're going to do this practice for all beings in all directions. Right? And so just before we start doing this, if there is anyone sitting in a chair or on a pew whose feet don't comfortably reach the floor, we have a solution, and that's a cushion. So you can grab any cushion from the front or the back and rest your feet on it if you would like to. You don't have to. It's up to you. All right. Any questions before we start? Awesome. Let's go do this. And hello, Sherry, before we do that. So just allow your eyes to close, making sure you have that comfortable position where you're not likely to move around too much. And when we sit like a Buddha. And you can even imagine yourselves as a Buddha sitting underneath your own tree of enlightenment. Because historically, each Buddha who comes into the world has their own tree of enlightenment. And you can choose whatever tree you want. Sitting underneath that tree, ready for the day's abiding, this sublime practice of loving kindness, unconditional friendliness, and goodwill. To begin, we're going to get connected to the breath. Because no matter what kind of meditation you're doing, you always want to have at least about 25% of your attention on the breath, keeping you centered and grounded, keeping you focused on the present moment in your meditation. So let's just take a deep breath all the way in and all the way out. Not forcing it at first, letting the breath be quite easy and quite natural. And you can either focus on your breath at the base of the nostrils, just feeling the air go in and out as you breathe. Or if you want, you can follow the breath all the way in through the nostrils, into the heart, and into the belly. And then on the exhale from the belly, through the heart, and back out through the nostrils. You got a couple of different options here. Just do what's comfortable for you. So just for the next few moments, let's just rest as gently as you can in the sensations of the breath. And so, to begin our formal practice of loving kindness, unconditional friendliness, and goodwill, we're going to think of our benefactor. And again, a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness. They could be living, they could be not living, it doesn't matter. And you can either just repeat phrases of loving kindness for them, phrases like, may you be happy, and say their name. May you be safe from inner and outer danger. May you be well in body and mind. May you be at peace and live at ease in this world. You can use any one of those phrases or all of them, or you can just radiate loving kindness to them. And however you understand that word radiate, you can think of like a beam of loving kindness going from your heart to theirs, and this beam is warm and it's pulsating, and maybe it has different colors. And that's one example of radiate, but however you want to use radiate is fine. It also helps to smile when you do this. It puts the mind in a good mood when that happens, when you do that, when you smile. Just so for the next few moments, let's do this practice of loving kindness for our benefactor. And so shifting our focus just a little bit from loving kindness for our benefactor to now we're going to imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us. And it could be the same benefactor, it could be a different benefactor. Just recalling what they've meant to you and why they're a benefactor, remembering their love and their kindness towards you. And you can even either imagine them just radiating loving kindness to you or saying the phrases of loving kindness for you. And your only job here is just receive all of it. If you want to make it easier, you can put your hand over your heart. Receive all of their loving kindness again, where you once did before. Smiling helps still with this part of the meditation. Again, it could be one benefactor or multiple, it doesn't matter. So now we'll imagine our benefactor or benefactors doing this practice for us, and we just receive all of it. And now shifting our focus again, we've kind of tenderized our heart by doing this practice for a benefactor and imagining our benefactor doing this practice for us. And now we can do this practice for us, loving kindness for ourselves. And first, just call to mind your own wish to be happy, your own wish to be free from harm, from danger, free from suffering, healthy, at ease in the world. And it's a wish that everyone has for themselves. So it's perfectly okay to do this practice for yourself. And so you can either just imagine your own heart getting bigger and warmer as you kind of radiate loving kindness to yourself. Or you could just repeat the phrases of loving kindness for yourself. Like, may I be happy. May I be safe from inner and outer danger. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at peace and live at ease in this world. Sometimes it's easier just to whisper this to yourself gently, silently, but just kind of whisper to your heart gently. There's no overpowering here. So now we'll do this practice of loving kindness for ourselves. And finally, now we can explore the limitless potential of the heart, this limitless quality to include all beings in all directions in our loving kindness. We can include them all in our heart. Our heart can expand to have this feeling for everybody. And you can either start small and just expand, or you can start small and stay small, just to like with a small group of people if you want. Or just do what's comfortable for you. But just know the heart does have this limitless potential to have loving kindness for all beings in all directions. So now we'll do this practice for all beings to end our meditation. And just open your eyes when you're ready. And just take the next couple of moments out in silence as you stretch your arms and you stretch your legs. Keeping that mindfulness of loving kindness about you still. Don't give that up. Maybe reflecting on that meditation. I was cold. So we'll begin. Give it another like 45 seconds and then we'll begin. If you have any questions, I'm going to ask you about your experience of meditation. Any questions about, Buddhism or the temple in general? Yeah. When you begin meditation training, part of the training, if like when you're really serious, is don't move no matter what. Like you're there and you said you don't move no matter what. That is not the instruction I give. Not because it's the wrong instruction. It's not, because I'm not going to argue with like centuries of meditation instruction. But a lot of times when I do move, I feel, oh my God, I've done it wrong. And the idea is just do your best. And so I never say like to never move or anything like that. Just like do your best to stay still, because that way you can concentrate on your meditation. So I was cold most of the time because I had taken my little jacket off. And I've gotten pretty good at just kind of ignoring it or just kind of not letting it get to me or making me suffer because of it. But I can still acknowledge the fact that I'm cold. And I was going somewhere with that and I kind of forgot. That's all right. Anyway, that was just essentially my kind of experience of meditation and how I've just been kinder to myself. Like I had to move, I had to scratch my ear. And so what? I scratched my ear. And really my instructions to anybody would be like, stay as still as you can, just so you can focus more. But if you have to move. That's okay. Just do so mindfully and go back to your meditation and it's all fine. One of the things that Buddhism has allowed me to do is just be a hell of a lot kinder to myself. And certainly this practice of loving kindness has taught me to be much kinder to myself. So that's why I don't put, a lot of emphasis on staying absolutely still. Especially for new people. I mean, there are like a lot of new people here, and I think a lot of you hadn't done loving kindness before, and certainly not to this line. This is like a 29-minute meditation, and so that's a long time if you're not used to it to stay still or to do a meditation. It's a long time. So good job, everybody. Or I should say, any questions on the instructions at all? So again, I'm always interested in your experience of meditation. What was easy, what was difficult, what was surprising, or just kind of what you were going through in meditation. I'm always interested to know what that is. Or if you just have any questions about Buddhism or whatever, that's perfectly fine. We'll just take a few questions. Or just tell me about your experience. Yes, Jennifer. Hi.
I always appreciate when you mention that we should smile.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it makes it a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
It just helps me get through my day.
Yeah. When we come to any kind of spiritual practice, we usually coming because life is hard and life has been really hard on us. And that's normal. Of course, that's normal. But we don't have to carry that into our meditation. Smiling, and you don't even have to believe the smile if you don't want to. You can just like smile as if or act as if, and that's okay. That's a really good strategy if you can do it. It's taken me a while to be able to smile, for any length of time in meditation. But smiling just kind of puts your mind in a better mood. Kind of makes you happier. It makes the meditation easier. I mean, this is a loving kindness meditation after all. And with practice, even the smiling becomes easier. We're always sometimes I'll open my eyes and look out at you guys, and it's just so serious. You're so serious.
Probably because we're so cold.
It is cold. I talked to Jeff about that because we do have vents, and so we have heating and we have air conditioning, but the air conditioning is super old, and that's like the next project. We were probably going to do that, but we had to do the roof first because we just put a new roof, and that was like $50,000 or something like that. And it's a good thing we did too, because we just finished that a couple of months ago, and we just had this big giant cyclone of rain. And had we not done the roof, we probably wouldn't be here today because it would be too wet here in the temple because the roof was leaking and it was pretty bad. And it's the same thing in the summer. Like if you come here in the summer, it's like really hot. And so we have the fans on, it provides some relief. But, I'm not sitting close enough to the fans sometimes. But that's all right. But we're getting there. Yes, hi.
Hi. I've been doing a lot of gratitude work
Mm-hmm.
recently. And this is the first time when my benefactor was wishing me peace and well and everything. I was wording it different and saying, thank you for wishing me well. Thank you for sending me loving kindness. Thank you. So it was just kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, you were still receiving it, which was the instruction, right? And so you can thank them for receiving. You can thank them for receiving it. That's wonderful. And that's the other thing about these instructions. I mean, you can take an instruction and just interpret it how, you want to make yourself feel better about it. You don't have to do super exactly the way that we're doing here. Buddhism is we don't have any beliefs in Buddhism. We have teachings and we have practices, to free ourselves from suffering, and the Buddha knew that there were, even in the Buddhist time in India, India of the time looked a lot different than India now. India of the time was north central India and Pakistan, essentially. Anything below that was more like the older Dravidian cultures of at the time were kind of Bronze Age cultures. But even the Buddha at that time said, when you go teach the Dharma, you teach it in the language and the customs of whomever you're teaching it to, right? And they're going to understand things differently and do things differently. And as Buddhism went to all these different countries like China and Tibet and Vietnam and Laos and Cambodia and Thailand and Korea, all those different countries, it's different. Buddhism is a little different in those countries, and it's fine. So yeah, work with it how you need to work with it. That's wonderful. Thank you. Yes, sir.
So I was born and raised in San Diego, and I'm moving to Israel in 4 days.
Nice.
And there's a lot of fear of, my whole community here, all the love that I've come to rely on is here. So this is a really good reminder that I don't need to be in physical proximity to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
I can still be across the world and still be able to come back to loving kindness wherever I am. So it's a really necessary reminder.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. So is it a permanent move?
For half a year to begin with, and then we'll see how it goes.
Oh, nice. Well, that's awesome. Thank you. All right. Thank you guys for being here with me. I really appreciate it. We have a couple of announcements before we end tonight. Daryl, you want to come up? And really quickly before Daryl does that, Sherry said, I found it helpful to say the person's name. I hadn't been doing that before today, but you reminded me to do so. Yes. Thank you, Sherry. Wonderful. Daryl.
Hi, I'm your host tonight, Daryl. Dharmavan started 15 years ago to bring Buddhism to those who show up. The people who lead are not nuns, gurus, teachers, or priests. They're simply people who are bringing, their practitioners bringing their interpretation of Buddhism. There are classes throughout the week of various Buddhist traditions. There's a Sangha recovery most days of the week for those suffering addiction. There's a family Sangha for teens, parents, toddlers, 1 day a week, a month. And then there's a half-day silent retreat on Saturdays. All the schedules are available above the shoe rack or on the website. And there's a Lindy library, so if you want to borrow a book, go ahead and borrow it and bring it back whenever you're done. And straighten out your cushions when you leave, and thank you, and come back.
Awesome. Thanks, Daryl. Let's join our palms together at our hearts, please. And may the benefits of this meditation, this discussion, be received by all beings in all directions. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be joyful and at ease. May all beings be happy. And may all beings be loved and seen for the beautiful, radiant beings that they are, that you are. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.